After losing his wife, a father found himself obligated to fight for the survival of his 3 daughters, facing financial difficulties and overcoming limitations he had never imagined. It was still dawn when Marcio left his home on Sunday morning. The weather was chilly, with a persistent drizzle, but he couldn't afford to prolong his sleep. Hunger twisted his stomach, but the pain in his heart was even more excruciating. Marcio was going through an extremely challenging period. His wife, Amanda, had been diagnosed with a serious illness. Within months, the situation had deteriorated rapidly, taking Amanda away and leaving Marcio with his 3 daughters, Daniele, 13, Gabriella, 10, and Sofia, a mere 6 months old. Things were already not simple when Amanda was alive, but life had never been as ruthless as in those days. Amanda was an exemplary and tireless wife. While Marcio went to work, she took care of the children and household chores. Additionally, Amanda also worked as a saleswoman, selling products and clothes to supplement the family income. Amanda not only managed the house and took care of the children, but she was also the source of joy and unity for the family. However, now there was only immense pain left in Marcio's and his daughter's souls. They fought for each other, unsure of what the future held. A single piece of bread had to be shared among them all, and the rice had to be rationed to last the entire month. Marcio felt guilty for not being able to provide his daughters with the same joy that their mother offered, and he feared that his inexperience with household chores and the new reality would deprive them of a peaceful childhood. Nevertheless, the responsibilities still fell on the girls. They had to take care of the house, wash the clothes, and sometimes even cook, as Marcio couldn't handle everything alone. When he went to work, he took the baby with him to ease the burden on the older daughters. Initially, the neighborhood offered sympathetic support. However, soon they started gossiping about the family's situation. Marcio was judged by his daughter's school performance, the baby's incessant crying, and even the worn-out clothes they wore, insinuating, at times, negligence. The situation was distressing for everyone. The older daughters were exhausted from the constant visits from the Child Protective Services and the intrusive questions asked during each new inspection. Marcio became even more convinced that he wasn't able to protect his greatest treasure, his daughters. At many moments, he felt overwhelmed and wanted to give up, but he knew that would be cowardice in front of the girls, who had already lost their mother and had only him as a father. So, he fought daily against these thoughts, driven by love for his daughters, carrying the pain in his chest, hoping that things might improve at some point. He wasn't sure if that would happen, but he was determined to do whatever it took to ensure his daughters weren't condemned to pain and suffering. Their financial situation had always been difficult. Marcio worked for himself, selling goods on trains and in squares. They never had the opportunity to have health insurance and had little money saved. When his wife passed away, he had to use all their savings for the funeral, leaving them with nothing. The next day, he had to work to ensure milk and diapers for his baby. Devastated and heartbroken, that was the worst day of work he faced. He had to smile for the customers while his soul shattered. Besides all the difficulties, there were also the cruel judgments of the neighbors, who labeled him as an insensitive man for returning to work so quickly after his wife's death. However, what they didn't understand was that he had no other choice. If he hadn't been working that day, his daughters would go without food. Marcio never countered the malice people spewed. He understood those cruel words were just malicious conjectures aimed at causing more sadness in their lives. He also knew these people had no idea of his family's reality, and thus had no intention of helping or understanding the pain he and his daughters were going through. Before his wife passed away, Marcio used to leave home early to work on the train. At that time, there was less scrutiny, so he could avoid having his goods confiscated by the guards. However, after his wife's loss, he had to drastically change his routine to accommodate the needs of his daughters. This meant he couldn't earn the same amount of money as before, as he now left for work later and returned earlier to care for the children. During the week, Marcio would wake up his older daughters and guide them to get ready for school, while he got the youngest one ready for daycare. It was crucial for him that the girls went to school because while they were there, they were safe and could have access to proper meals, including meat, something rare at their home. While the girls were at school, Marcio could relax a bit, allowing him to work without worrying about accidents at home or losing custody of the girls. By late afternoon, he needed to finish work early to pick up the baby from daycare and the other daughters from school, starting the evening routine with them. On the way, Marcio saw his daughters gazing longingly at shop windows, dreaming of buying new toys and clothes or choosing a notebook cover with bright designs instead of using government-provided school supplies. The poor father faced tough choices between paying water and electricity bills or satisfying the desires of his older daughters. Some months, the decision was even tougher as he had to choose between buying food or paying bills, sometimes going without electricity for a few days. It was a challenge to ensure the basics of the house, like diapers, milk, rice, and beans. Most days were a nightmare for him, tired of living like this. It was a small relief when they received basic baskets or other donations that relieved hunger, but also hurt his pride. And so the hard life of that family continued. Marcio didn't usually work on weekends to take care of his daughters, but things were getting more expensive, and the money that used to last 2 days now wasn't enough even for one day, making it even harder to buy milk and diapers for the little daughter. So, on that cold Sunday morning, Marcio carefully bundled up the baby, packed the few remaining diapers and a homemade wet wipe in a backpack. He grabbed the last can of milk, poured it into bottles, and set off pushing the stroller with his daughter. He shielded her with a cover to ensure she wouldn't get wet in case the umbrella wasn't enough. It was a tough situation, but Marcio tried to make the best with what he had. He didn't leave the baby alone with her older sisters to avoid burdening them. He also didn't share with them his pain and struggles to sustain the household, believing that by being with the baby, they wouldn't need to worry about what was lacking for her. With one arm, Marcio pushed the stroller uphill. He carried a bag with the products he would sell. He walked briskly, feeling his empty stomach and heavy heart. He had left the last piece of couscous for his daughters to share at breakfast. Marcio headed towards a square where he usually worked, hoping no one would report him for working with a baby. As the hours passed, Marcio watched sadly as he made few sales. He knew on cold weekend days, business was always slow. By 11 a.m., he had managed to gather enough money to buy only a small carton of milk. However, it had been many hours since he had eaten, and he began to feel a bit lightheaded, knowing he couldn't jeopardize the safety of the baby under his care. He chose to use the money intended for milk to buy a snack in an attempt to alleviate the pain in his stomach. Meanwhile, his mind turned to his daughters at home, imagining their situation. He knew that only a little rice and beans remained from the previous day, with no accompaniments, as even the eggs had run out. Upon arriving at the snack bar, Marcio noticed a young man sitting at the entrance. The guy seemed disheartened and confused, despite being well-dressed. It was the first time Marcio had seen him there. Intrigued, he decided to ask the staff about him. He found out that the young man had been there since the day before, asking for money for food, without anyone helping or buying him something to eat. Marcio could simply ignore the guy and satisfy his own hunger with the bought snack. However, the anguish of the young man touched him. Unable to resist, Marcio ended up giving his snack to the guy. While talking to him, he found out that he had run away from home and was lost, with no money for food or to return. Fortunately, after some conversations, the guy remembered the name of the street where he lived. Marcio knew it was a distant street and realized that the guy wouldn't be able to return alone. He decided to accompany him to the train station, even if it meant wasting precious work time. With the few coins he had, he bought a train ticket for the guy, hoping to recover the amount by the end of the day. Worried, he explained the situation to the guard, who accompanied him to the other side of the city. After leaving the guy with the guard, Marcio looked at his baby. He didn't feel satisfied or grateful, but rather depressed and defeated for not being able to bring anything to his daughters at home. Desperate, he tried to sell his products at the station entrance. After hours without success, Marcio looked at his daughter and started to cry, feeling a deep sadness. At that moment, he saw the guard approaching. Fearing a reprimand for obstructing pedestrian traffic, he was surprised when the guard led him to a person at the turnstile. Startled, he followed the guard to some well-dressed people, whom he recognized from television. Without understanding why he was there, he received hugs and thanks. It was only when he spotted the young man accompanied by a lady, smiling and waving, that he understood. That was the boy who had been lost for 2 days, unable to return home alone. His family and the police had been looking for him, and when he got off at the station, he was recognized by a cousin who was posting flyers with his face, hoping to find him. The family, offering a reward, wanted to thank the guard who led them to the real hero, Marcio. Seeing Marcio cry and the situation he was in with his baby, the family embraced him and took him to a restaurant. After eating, he was taken to a supermarket where he could fill the cart with groceries. Marcio was moved, knowing he would bring more than an afternoon snack to his daughters. The boy's family, knowing that this purchase was temporary, offered Marcio a job with great pay in one of their companies. Marcio saw there the chance to give his daughters a better life. Over the following months, Marcio worked hard at the new company, dedicating himself with determination and gratitude to the opportunity given to him. With a steady salary and financial stability, he could provide a better life for his daughters. They were able to attend a quality school, have access to nutritious food every day, and enjoy moments of joy as a family. Moreover, the encounter with the lost young man and his family brought a new perspective to Marcio. He became more attentive to the needs of others and more willing to help those in need. Regularly, he volunteered at charity organizations and sought ways to contribute to the community. Over time, Marcio's story spread throughout the city, inspiring others to perform acts of kindness and solidarity. He became a respected and admired figure, not only for his courage on that day at the train station, but also for his ongoing kindness and commitment to making a difference in the lives of those around him. If Marcio hadn't thought of the guy at that moment, he wouldn't have just satisfied his own hunger, but would have missed an opportunity to change his life and that of his family. Good deeds are never in vain. They can take you where you least expect. Comment below what you thought of this story and from which city you are watching us. Leave your like and subscribe to our channel so that together we can build a huge community that shares inspiring stories. Thank you for watching.